Oh my gosh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Is this real jumpy for you guys? You guys get some jumpiness on my end? Or is
I'm getting a
it
little jump.
it's a little jump. Okay, great. Well, you know what? I'm having a great day. I'm really happy that this is happening for everyone else involved. So thank you guys so much for being here. I'm very excited to be here. We are going to be talking about the hype train. Basically, the things that really get us hyped when it comes to recruits. And Evan, I think this is going to be really fun for you because you've lived shorter than I have. So what particular recruits have really, like, the second you found out they were signing with Texas, you got super excited about it?
Oh well, Jonah Williams last year is probably the peak of any recruit experience I've ever had. When I saw, watching the countdown live to actually see him pick the Texas hat and knowing that two-sport athlete, I'm a sucker for a two-sport athlete. So having a guy like that coming to campus was unbeatable. That's probably the one in recent memory that I most remember, what I was doing, where I was, just sitting in my house watching it on my laptop. Pretty excited back then. I wasn't quite as much of an unbiased supporter at that time, so pretty happy about that one.
So wait, you were at some point an unbiased supporter? How does that work?
I do my best to work, without the Texas bias and my alma mater, which I can now say behind me. But yeah, Williams was a fun one for sure.
I mean, I think I remember distinctly when I was in school, the idea that we might get Adrian Peterson was a super big deal. And then the second that we didn't get that person, I did not like him. And it turned out to be that instinct was pretty good. Just in terms of human beingness, I think we read into that one right. But the reason, the impetus for this, Eric, was we had a commit today, Mr. Jeremiah Bishop Jr., and you wrote on the board.
Jermaine Bishop, football guy.
Jermaine Bishop, and I am a football guy. You can tell because I'm here. The thing about Mr. Bishop Jr. is you wrote on the site how there are a couple recruits that come out that really kind of get you excited. And I want to talk about Mr. Bishop here in a minute. We've covered him pretty well today, but what have been some other recruits? Same question that I gave Evan, that really just kind of the second you knew that they had committed, it got you excited about what could potentially happen on campus.
Why is Coach Dub on? Didn't Drew ask for the connection?
Did he?
Yeah, he did. Guys, look, we're doing a great job.
What the hell is going on here, man?
Most functional IT live.
Wait a minute. Oh,
this is slightly racist too.
Drew, what? Drew was invited.
Drew was invited, and Coach Dub showed up. What?
Got a lot of explaining.
I'm not saying Coach Dub wasn't also invited.
Hey, I did see the link. I was like, "Oh, hey, let me jump in this thing. Let's go."
Right. Okay,
What do you mean? Let me jump in this thing? You gave me a thumbs up in the text, Coach.
I did, but it's not getting replaced by Drew, the All-American, the national championship winner.
You gotta sit up more straight if you're gonna be Drew.
Oh, look, I'm frozen. Oh, there it goes.
What a shit show. All right. Yeah. So here's my thing about recruits. A lot of times, and this doesn't do well for ratings, and nobody wants to hear it, but a lot of recruits are fungible. You get a guy that's an 89 or a 91, and you can't really tell them apart. They're all very similar, at least ability-wise. You got to dive a lot deeper and make sure you get the mental eval right. But if you miss on some guys, they're perfectly fine. They go somewhere else. I remember people on the board were freaking out if Texas if Texas missed on Selman Bridges a couple years ago, a cornerback, and it clearly wasn't the end of the world. You just go and get another one. So understanding that, the guys I want first and foremost typically are the guys that the coaches want first and foremost. After that, if you miss on a guy, you can go find a replacement and not even really know the difference a lot of times. But every cycle, there's 5 or 6 that you just have to have, maybe 7 or 8, depending on the way they're recruiting right now. You might even go upwards of 10. But a lot of times they're just going to be, you can find somebody else. Texas missed on a corner last year. They went and flipped Grayson Littleton from Clemson. Grayson Littleton was one of the best performers throughout the entire spring. So the corner that they replaced was clearly fungible. Jermaine Bishop is not a fungible athlete. You can't find many Jermaine Bishops. They're very rare. You might find 1 or 2 a cycle. The other Jermaine Bishop happens to be in Texas too. But you've got to get guys like that. Could be a difference maker on either side of the ball. Jeff Banks tweeted out today that he's a three-phase player, offense, defense, and special teams. That's quite obvious if you watch his tape. We were on the live earlier after he committed. We called him a 6-star based on what on the view of the staff, the way that they saw him. And so this is definitely a guy that to get excited about. And it happens a couple times a cycle. And usually when they kind of pop out of nowhere, there wasn't a huge buildup, there wasn't much drama, there wasn't a ton of competition. Like this didn't appear to be a direct head-to-head over A&M because it was basically all Texas. The drama isn't up there. The fans don't pay quite as much attention. I don't think they appreciate him quite like they should, at least in line with their overall ability. This is a guy you should definitely celebrate, like Texas won on National Signing Day over A&M and Oklahoma.
So, Coach, I guess my question is, Eric is only rating this kid at a 6-star. Why is he not an 8-star?
There's some haters out there. I don't know. He should be.
Yeah, haters. There you go.
Hey, anybody can play 7-on-7 with a Batman cape and mask on, deserves as many stars as possible, honestly, and shut people down and catch a couple touchdowns on top of it. So I don't know. The ranking system was that high. He'd definitely be an 8-star in my book. I'm telling you.
Hey, one of the guys online today, my buddy Horn17, who lived real close to Episcopal for years, mentioned Jalen Waddle. And that actually comes to mind because, when I had Jalen Waddle as a 5-star very early because I saw him play 7-on-7 and you couldn't touch him. If you can't touch him in 7-on-7, how the hell are you going to tackle him? I think Bishop has some of those same elements. And early on, when he was at Episcopal as a sophomore, people said Jalen Waddle could be an all-world corner. Obviously, he made the right business decision. I think he's a special athlete like Waddle, flexible, bendy, super great, amazing acceleration, shifty, just all that stuff.
I want to hear a little bit from you, Coach, about where where he profiles, because to be honest, he is as a super athlete, he could pretty much go anywhere. But let's hear from one of our sponsors.
This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE. Or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description.
Coach, where do we see Mr. Bishop profiling to? I mean, I think given the folks specifically that were recruiting him, I think the initial take there is that he's going to be on the defensive side of the game ball. But do we see him playing any offense?
He's a special player. I'm not saying he can't play receiver because he can go on that side of the ball and dominate too, but he profiles as a corner to me. I mean, he can shut down your best of the best. He's a guy you can play cat coverage with. You cover that cat, take away their number one option. He has that type of ability. You can move him around. He's a chess piece on the defense. So I profile him as a corner because he can erase the other team's best receiver or target.
When you start talking about, and I'm going to throw this over to you, Eric. When you start talking about a player, whether they're obviously incredibly athletic, but it's the versatility that I think to me really profiles to an Akina type of defensive back. What do you see his progression being just in terms of where they're going to start him playing into that? Because I know there's a lot of cross training that Akina likes to do.
Well, I mean, he's an island corner all the way. It's Akina does love versatility, corners that hit like safeties that run like corners. But he also took some true corners too. Curtis Brown was only going to play corner. That's all he was ever going to play. And I think that's Bishop for sure. He's going to play corner 100%, and then he might play wide receiver. But he's not going to play safety. They're not going to have him in the box mixing up at star. He's going to take away the most athletic receiver the other team has, and he's going to do it a lot. He's going to play to the field, carry everybody vertically, play in space, do all those things. And he's probably going to turn you over a lot because he still has that wide receiver ability when the ball's in the air.
So, Coach, we've heard from Eric, we've heard from Evan on this one. Like, has there been a recruit within the last few cycles that decided to commit to Texas that got you really excited?
I mean, Michael Bishop's up there. I was grinning ear to ear. I was at North Crowley, sneezing my head off because my allergies. I was like, man, he committed. I was like, what in the world? Like, Michael Bishop's up there. Just seeing him live in person, compete like an OT7 and race.
Jermaine Bishop. Jermaine Bishop, not Michael Bishop.
I did not mean to say Michael. Golly. Oh,
I mean,
man.
Michael Bishop is still on my mind too, all these years later. But yeah.
I mean, yeah, Jermaine Bishop. He's special. Besides that, it was Justice Terry last year. No, I don't know. Jermaine Bishop's really, really high on the list. Just because of what he can do. Besides Jonah, I take it back. You got Mr. Baseball, Jonah Williams. That was a great recruit. That had me super excited just because what he can do. Other than that, Bishop's at the top.
I know that you had mentioned this earlier, Eric, about Lance Jackson. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, because that one came out of nowhere too. Now, we felt Texas was in a great spot for Lance, but we were not expecting it in January. We're sitting there at Posse East, not far from campus on Junior Day. Justin is late. I'm pissed off. I'm ticked. Justin's late from East Texas. We're all working. He sits down and he goes, well, hey, you know what? Lance Jackson's about to commit. I'm like, all right, you're forgiven for being late, dude. And we just thought, I did a little celebration because I think the dude's an NFL player all the way. Very early on, I was saying he should be a 5-star. I just don't see how he's not rated higher. So based on the fact that I feel like he should have been rated higher, Bishop should be rated higher. They kind of just went out of nowhere without all the pomp and circumstance. That reminds me a lot. Again, I was urging fans to be really excited about Lance Jackson, just because, hey, look, it didn't end up being a win over LSU or Georgia or whoever, because it was Texas the whole way. I think these guys profile having a lot of success at the next level because of how they handle their commitment. That's not saying other people that go through all the process and had dance, they can't be great too. I just think this is a much more likely outcome that these guys hit big, because it's indicative of how they're wired. And that's kind of why Texas was all over them very early on. They love the mental eval of this kid. They think he's all football all the time.
One of the things I think, just if anybody has the stomach to follow recruiting, I clearly do not. It's too dangerous for me. But the idea that you're pointing out here, Eric, I think is really valid. Sometimes when you've got a player that obviously profiles to a school, obviously in this case, Texas, and then just commits without really a lot of drama and there's not a lot of competition. Sometimes I think in the whole atmosphere of experiencing this from the outside looking in, it might take a little bit away from that. And I'm just wondering, do you find that with those particular players, it can sometimes be they almost fly under the radar in spite of the fact that they're really, really high profile?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Again, if there would have been a week-long buildup and On3 would have hosted the announcement and the hats on the table or Texas, OU, A&M, LSU or whatever, it would have hit a fever pitch. And, you can see the reaction in the recruiting community. Like everybody's calling the guy a baller. I'm still trying to figure out if everybody thinks he's a baller, why isn't he rated higher? I think one network just moved him up to 5-star. But there would have been a fever pitch. Everybody would have, and then you would have had predictions going in, and it just kind of hits a different level. But I think who cares about it? The ultimate goal is to have this guy playing for you on Saturdays, and that's what's going to happen for Texas. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Who cares? I think it's a positive indicator that he just kind of went old school and popped out of nowhere.
With I want to transition a little bit here, and maybe throw this one over to you, Coach, because Paul is mentioning this. Why we're not talking about Cade Phillips?
Well, which time was Paul talking about? Which should we? There's 2 to celebrate with Cade.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
No, so we were expecting the commitment. Where's Coach Top? Where's Coach Top when I need him? He's always in the morning. Need Coach Top because I bet Coach Top a steak, which I still haven't had. That it was going to be Texas over LSU. And then he flipped to LSU and Coach Top reached out because he wanted that steak. And then, of course, he reached back and Coach Top then said he owes me a steak. So that recruitment was all over the place. But we kind of expected it. There were no real surprises in that one because he liked LSU when he committed to Texas. And then Texas came on really strong at the end and he liked Texas. And then, our sources say he was very happy with the decision he's made.
I want to stick with this idea a little bit about just kind of covering the storylines of recruiting here, Evan. Now that you're a recent graduate from a major university, I'm just curious what
I want to
what
meet his
it's
hair
like.
and celebrate with him. It looks like somebody beat me to it.
What what is
Jesus.
what you're now immersed more in this world of recruiting. I know that you were kind of covering a lot more of the top line stories that were going on, but how has this transition been for you? Because it seems to me there's just so much that goes into it.
Well, you know what's really fun for me in recruiting that I just wasn't putting in a lot of time into is like when we were talking about Mark Bowman recently and that being a highlight of a player to look at. When someone says go watch the tape and it's fun, it really is fun to watch high school tape. Like that is one of the most enjoyable parts about this process because Mark Bowman does not look like he's playing the same sport as some of the kids in California he's going against. I mean, he is so much more agile than these safeties who are three inches smaller and 50 pounds lighter. I'm enjoying just being able to watch these kids play and seeing what the process is to get them to the schools. But Bishop's another one where you get that athlete sign next to your name and you can see why someone's given that because he's a burner. That the hurdle into the juke that he had, I forgot exactly which game that was, but that was a beautiful one. So I'm enjoying just watching more football. It gives me more reason to say it's my job to go look on a screen and watch people play football.
I want to talk a little bit more about how all this kind of profiles and as we move into the season because we're about a week away from the 100-day mark before our first game against Ohio State, and I want to talk a little bit about where we see that next 100 days going and what kind of progress we're looking for. But first, let's hear from our friend David.
I'm just going to say, guys, you probably need a fiduciary financial advisor, and I've got the guy for you. His name is David McClellan with Forum Financial. He works broadly and deeply with his clients as a financial life coach, and he should know something about coaching because he won several national championships as a swimmer for the University of Texas. He specializes in financial planning and has contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. So contact David today to be your fiduciary financial planner and schedule a 1-hour consultation to assess your financial situations. The free consultation is available, so just give him a call. The number is 312-933-8823. That's 312-933-8823. His email is also in the description below.
Eric, on Wednesdays, you'll throw out a 4-down territory and recruiting Q&A from time to time. And I'm just curious, what seems to be, in your estimation, like where are the fans' heads at? What are their concerns? What are the things they're really focused on as we get closer and closer to the season?
Yeah, I try to do a Q&A once a week, usually Tuesday or Wednesday. Definitely when I can't think of what to write, that Q&A is going up. That's one of those cheat codes that we do in the business when we can't figure out what to write. God damn, hopefully somebody sparks our memory or a topic that we should cover. I'm getting asked every single week. I get asked about the offensive line. I get asked about CJ Baxter's health, and I give the same answer every time. I feel okay about the offensive line. I don't look at it necessarily as the individual parts, but I think that they're going to be helped out by scheme. I think that they've got a little bit more of an downhill identity in the interior, and then Arch is going to make a big difference. And also the running backs, it's just a much more healthy room, even with CJ Baxter's questions. And Baxter, I'm not sure what to expect out of him. We'll learn a lot more in August. I'm not bullish on him like I am Christian Clark for the season opener, but maybe that'll change throughout August. I tend to think it's going to be a 3-man platoon: Wisner, Clark, Jarrett Gibson, and then Baxter will ease his way in pending his health.
Where do you land on that, Coach?
May is tough. I'm just ready for at least June. You get camps, right? You get camp season from high school, so you get recruits on campus. Players start returning, strength and conditioning, things like that. So you get some more team stuff, but like Eric said, you almost. Well, maybe not so much from my part because recruiting's heating up. You got a lot of decisions getting ready to happen. You got Bishop happening today, which you weren't expecting, but a lot of kids are taking their official visits, so you kind of find out, picking their brain what they're thinking. So from recruiting side, the fire's still lit, it's still going, right? And then that turns into camp season in early June. A lot of recruits will be on campus, so you get to pick their brain, see what they thought. I know a lot of kids in this recruiting class now were on campus last summer, working out, earning their offers, getting those offers from Texas. And so now it's their turn to be recruited or decide whether they want to play for Texas or not. So I'm ready to get through that. I get asked a ton of questions about recruiting daily. Like, hey, what's going on with this? I know you went to see John Turntown today. How's that? What is he thinking? Like, everybody's hitting you up just trying to find out what's going on. So it's actually fun from the recruiting side of it, but I'm ready for like actual football. And it's 100 days is long.
May and February are the two worst months to cover. June is a lot of fun because the recruiting and team kind of merge because there's a lot of team activities, but at the same time, the players are hosting the official visitors.
Yeah,
there's a lot of crossover between the recruits and the players interacting, and that's where Texas makes a lot of hay. The players are quite happy in Austin. That becomes quite obvious to the recruits. The recruits buy in even more. The best recruiters are your players. So June is a lot of fun. The official visits are a lot of fun. But then you also have a lot of team activities. They'll start up 7-on-7, and we'll start hearing more about, some of the freshmen making waves. Hopefully some of those younger wide receivers are making noise. June's a lot more fun. May's a tough one.
Evan, as a recent graduate from a major university, if you were put in the position of hosting a recruit, where would you take that recruit?
Well, there's one spot that apparently now you can't take him because a certain backup left tackle ruined that.
That was your go-to? That was like your number one spot that got taken?
That was number one, and then Terry Black's barbecue was number two, just because someone who doesn't come from a barbecue-rich area, that's the one-on-one for me, at least. I haven't gotten to taste too many places, but that's the spot where my family likes to go. So, I didn't drink that many White. Who drinks White Claws these days? Who do you think I am? Yeah, Terry Black's, and then Barton Creek. I'll go the most basic answer. This is a hard question for me.
Okay, sorry, didn't mean to.
I don't go out that much.
I guessed.
Stay in.
He's probably going to go out more working with us now.
Yeah, right. Except you didn't want to see me on last Saturday. That was a rough one.
Well, that should be. Yeah.
Right.
The one thing I would like to, and this is a legitimate question. Did you go to the major? I think we saw the pictures, Evan. You went to your graduation at the University of Texas. Congratulations. Who was the keynote speaker?
It was Taylor Sheridan, Yellowstone producer, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, Yellowstone.
The keynote for my year was Michael Dell. If there's any connection between those two, it's that neither of them graduated from college. And the fact that the University of Texas keeps bringing in these folks, I think is sending the message that nobody seems to be getting.
Yeah. And Taylor Sheridan did go. He went to Texas State. He didn't even go to Texas and drop out, right? I think he went to Texas State.
Sheridan went up there and is like, yeah, so I applied to Texas, not smart enough. And then I dropped out at 2 other places, and now I'm better than all of you. Congratulations on your degree. Like, it was just – it was a good speech, but it was funny.
It was a momentous occasion. We're so happy to have you in the fold, young Evan. Thank you so much for being here. We are very, very grateful. I'm going to go ahead and just again apologize to everyone for this poor connection. And what I mean by that is the synapses in my brain. It has nothing to do with the internet. It's just I've been an absolute let's call it a shit show. It's just not been